Vanakkam Dohadevan, everyone. Wonderful to be with you today. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And we'll share the screen. And we have March 19th in Asia. Our first topic. Before we start today's keynote on Hinduism's gradational approach to mysticism, it's important that everyone have a clear concept of what mysticism is. How would you define mysticism? Wikipedia gives this definition. Mysticism is the pursuit of communion with, identity with, or conscious awareness of an ultimate reality, divinity, spiritual truth, or God through direct experience, intuition, instinct, or insight. Very broad. Mysticism usually centers on practices intended to nurture those experiences. Mysticism may be dualistic, maintaining a distinction between the self and the divine, or may be non-dualistic. It's a very good subtlety there. My own comment. Mysticism is the idea that we can have a personal experience of God while living in this world. In other words, as I'll mention again later on, some religions are futuristic. We're talking about some experience after death. But this is a personal experience while living in this world. And the nature of the experience varies according to the philosophy, which is what Wikipedia was, perceptive enough to know. In Hinduism, it includes a vision of the personal deity and experiencing a oneness with the omnipresence of God. Then we get our next term. How would you define gradational? The noun form gradation refers to a series of gradual successive stages, a systematic progression. School, for example, is gradational. To acquire a university bachelor's degree requires going through 17 grades of school, each one more advanced than the previous one. When you think of it that way, it sounds like a long time. 17 years. Now we got through our words. A common statement made by many Hindus as well as individuals of a diversity of religious affiliations is, aren't all religions pretty much the same? How would you respond to that statement? My response is a story from Chicago. This happened a number of years ago, visiting a Sri Lankan family with grandmother, father, and the son, who himself was a doctor. So the father and son, both doctors. The son asked this classic question, saying something like, aren't all religions pretty much the same? I gave a simple answer at the time, stating that their beliefs and practices were quite different, but afterwards thought of a more comprehensive medical comparison. The idea is to compare religion to a medical clinic and ask, aren't all medical clinics the same? If you go to a clinic with chest pains and the doctor there thinks it might be something serious, he will probably send you to a hospital to run some sophisticated tests, which he can't do at his clinic. And if the tests show a problem that needs to be corrected by surgery, then you will probably need to go to another more advanced hospital that has a surgeon specializing in that kind of surgical technique. So are all medical clinics the same? Our example clearly shows that they're not. They can all provide the basic medical care, the basics of medical care, but if you need something complicated, only a few can provide it. Religion is the same. If you want some basic religious advice, all religions can give you ethical guidelines to follow. However, if you want advanced practices such as meditation, only a few offer that. A second common generalization is living a virtuous life and helping your fellow man is the essence of all religions, isn't it? Many years ago, the editors of Hinduism Today magazine published a comparison of the world's major religions. The study they did is published as a resource section in the back of our book, Dancing with Shiva, and is entitled Truth is One, Paths Are Many. The study finds similarities, but also significant differences between these religions. By presenting information on the world's religions in brief and easily comparable write-ups, the study seeks to play its part in encouraging readers to dispel the myth that all religions are one. That they all lead adherents by the same means to the same ultimate reality. They don't, as a conscientious review of the study will show. For example, from the Hindu perspective, it is not the attainment of heaven that is difficult, it is remaining there that is the challenge. This viewpoint is explained in the Mundaka Upanishad. It states that after death, those who have performed daily rituals and humanitarian works are rewarded by being granted access to heaven. However, the merit they have earned by these good deeds eventually is exhausted, and they are then reborn on earth. The Upanishad goes on to state that there are two ways to permanently remain in heaven, and eventually from that realm merge into permanent oneness with God. The first is after achieving a serene mind and controlled senses, and after renunciation of the world to approach a guru endowed with self-knowledge and under his guidance achieve God realization. Second is in one's elderly years to retire to the forest and perform intense austerities combined with worship of a deity. We can see that what the Hindu has to do to be granted a permanent stay in heaven is a much more demanding path than mere virtuous living and humanitarian acts. And another question, how would you define higher consciousness? Lots of questions today. Keeps you on your toes. As Truth is One, Paths Are Many mentions, Hinduism is a mystical religion leading the devotee to personally experience the truth within, finally reaching the pinnacle of consciousness where man and God are one. An alternate term for God realization is higher consciousness. I was researching that term on the web and came across an excellent definition, again on Wikipedia, which includes a few points about what is required to achieve this state. But before looking at Wikipedia, I wanted to look at some material from ChatGPT. What in the world is ChatGPT? So I asked ChatGPT who he was. Chat is artificial intelligence that's available on the web. In my browser, all I have to do is type in the word chat on the URL line and it goes to ChatGPT, but I had to open an account first. So Chat describes himself. I am ChatGPT, a large language model. I actually asked him the question, what is ChatGPT? This is the actual answer he gave. It's not a standard web page describing it. I am ChatGPT, a large language model developed by OpenAI. So a large language model. So model, I think, means AI. I'm designed to generate human-like responses to natural language queries and to engage in conversations with users in a variety of contexts. I have been trained on a vast amount of textual data and use machine learning algorithms to understand and interpret the meaning behind users' questions and responses. My abilities include answering questions, providing explanations, offering recommendations, and engaging in small talk. And Chat even writes very interesting poetry. So I found out you could ask for a poem and ask for certain words to be included, Sanskrit words or Hawaiian words, and it comes out very charming. Back to higher consciousness. So I asked Chat, what is higher consciousness? So this is what the Chat artificial intelligence says. Higher consciousness refers to a state of awareness that goes beyond the ordinary waking state of consciousness that most people experience in their daily lives. It is often associated with spiritual or mystical experiences. We were looking at that before, mystical, and is believed to involve a heightened sense of awareness, clarity, and interconnectedness with the world around us. Some people believe that higher consciousness can be achieved through practices such as meditation, prayer, or other forms of spiritual practice. Others believe that it can be attained through experiences such as psychedelic trips or near-death experiences. I wouldn't have thought of near-death experiences. While the concept of higher consciousness is often associated with spirituality, it can also be viewed from a more scientific perspective. Some researchers suggest that it may be linked to brain activity in certain regions of the brain, such as the prefrontal cortex. Overall, higher consciousness is a complex and multifaceted concept that is open to a wide range of interpretations and perspectives. Interesting source of ideas, ChatGPT. So back to Wikipedia, we interrupted our Wikipedia's definition of higher consciousness. So Wikipedia weaves together the perspectives of a number of religions, which makes it too long for the presentation. So for the sake of brevity, I reworded it to keep just the points that relate to Hinduism. Here's how the Hindu part reads. Higher consciousness, also called superconsciousness, and God consciousness are expressions used in Hinduism to denote the consciousness of a human being who has reached a higher level of development and who has come to know reality as it is. Oh, isn't that a great phrase? To know reality as it is. Evolution in this sense is not that which occurs by natural selection over generations of human reproduction, but evolution brought about by the application of spiritual knowledge to the conduct of human life. Oh, again, beautiful. And of the refinement of the mind brought about by such spiritual practices. Through the application of such knowledge to practical self-management, the awakening and development of faculties dormant in the ordinary human being is achieved. These faculties are aroused by and developed in conjunction with certain virtues, such as lucidity, patience, kindness, truthfulness, humility, and forgiveness towards one's fellow man, qualities without which higher consciousness is not possible. So all the basic character qualities that we've been talking about are being mentioned here. So character is the foundation for higher consciousness. And looking more closely at the word consciousness, our Himalayan Academy lexicon describes it as perception, awareness, apprehension. There are many layers or levels of consciousness, ranging from the ordinary, everyday consciousness of our body and mind to omniscient states of superconsciousness. Consciousness aware only of itself is pure consciousness. The principles and practices of Hinduism are designed to help us move up to ever higher levels of consciousness, moving out of negative states to positive ones, from positive states to creative ones, and from creative states to the divine ones, and in the level of the divine to the highest state, which is a unity of consciousness of soul and God. This is done in small steps and a gradational approach over a period of many lives. Common negative states of consciousness that Hindus work to overcome are fear and anger. Gurudeva gave a number of techniques for reducing and then eliminating altogether these powerful negative states. So that's the natural pattern. If you try to eliminate them 100% immediately, you'll be frustrated. And most people can't do that. We need to reduce them. Instead of getting angry every day, we get angry once a week. Instead of getting angry once a week, we get angry once a month, etc. We gradually reduce it, and then eventually it's eliminated. So that's fear and anger. Also, a negative self-concept can be turned into a positive one through other techniques, affirmations, for example. So we don't want a negative self-concept. We want a divine self-concept. That we're a divine being equal to all other divine beings, not higher or lower than anyone else, because we're all the same divine being. The description of moving up through the levels of consciousness through applying Hindu principles and practices to our life has similarities to the modern idea of self-improvement. It also has some important differences in that it adds God and soul as central elements. It also adds reincarnation, in that we are looking for these changes to take place over a number of lives. That's one of the important differences between Western perspectives and Eastern ones, is the belief in reincarnation. If there's only one life, boy, you have to work hard to get everything in. And then you want to save every minute you can at the end by life prolonging techniques. But if you have lots of lives, you have a more relaxed approach. As I like to say, you're able to enjoy the journey. You're not rushing. As in any system of self-improvement, it is important to start at the beginning. In the Hindu approach, that means focusing on our conduct and making sure it is in alignment with Hindu principles. And then we have the yamas. This is a publisher's desk. It goes through the yamas, which I don't need to read them. We'll just let them come up on the screen one by one here. There it is, non-injury, etc. Ahimsa. Then you get the second 5. Steadfastness, that's our character quality for today. So you can see there, it's the 6th yama. Then more advanced qualities can be developed, such as courageousness, industriousness, joyfulness, observation, and respect. So all of those are in our character building workbook. All the qualities mentioned comprise part of our character. What exactly is character? I didn't put a slide in, but why don't you give that a go? How would you define character? This is a pretty precise definition. Character is the sum total of mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. That's really a good definition. Character is the sum total of mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. On the spiritual path, the first phase of effort is to build, improve, and transform our character. The foundational importance of character is not limited to religion. A school of modern mental health called positive psychology states, we have discovered that there is a set of human strengths that are the most likely buffers against mental illness: courage, optimism, interpersonal skill, work ethic, hope, honesty, and perseverance. Much of the task of prevention will be to create a science of human strength whose mission will be to foster these virtues in young people. Professor Martin Seligman, University of Pennsylvania, 1998. Nicely said. Besides improving our character, we can strive to eliminate selfish actions, focus on fulfilling our duties, and increase actions that help others. The disciplines listed are all action-oriented, and their mastery creates the necessary transformations in our nature, which will naturally lead to the more advanced level devotional practices, and finally the meditative practices. Hinduism's gradational approach to mysticism requires patience. When this approach is correctly understood, a sense of fulfillment will come. From the knowledge that in this life we are making tangible progress toward the eventual goal of God, realization, rather than a sense of frustration that we have not yet achieved it. So that's the idea of enjoy the journey. Some people are frustrated because they can't get to the end in this life, rather than enjoying the life they are living and are making progress in. So that frustration takes the joy out of life, which we don't want. And there's a little extra quote here, emphasizes a certain point in this material. This is a quote that was in Hinduism Today, October 2014, quotes and quips, sometimes quotes and quips quotes me. So Hinduism is focused on the present moment. It's not focused on what happens after we die. It's not focused on some future event. It's not focused on tomorrow. It's not focused on later today. It's focused on living in as high a state of consciousness as possible right now. I like that approach to Hinduism. It's right about this very moment. What is our state of consciousness? What can we do to make it a higher state of consciousness? What can we do to make it a more joyful state of consciousness? And that's what Gurudev's teachings are there for. Second topic, steadfastness, which is a 58 character quality. From our workbook. How would you define steadfastness? The workbook says steadfastness is firm continuance in a course of action. I practice it by being strongly committed to a sound and dharmic plan, not giving up when I meet obstacles, but using willpower to overcome them. The opposite is the tendency to give up. And then Gurudeva's quote, the sixth yama is dhriti, steadfastness. To be steadfast, you have to use your willpower. Willpower is developed easily in a person who has an adequate memory and good reasoning faculties. So Gurudeva is referring to the first two chakras, and willpower is the third. To be steadfast as we go through life, we must have a purpose, a plan, persistence, and push. Then nothing is impossible within the circumference of our prarabdha karmas. So that's an important point. What we can do is limited by our prarabdha karmas. So we want to do the maximum we can within those. So everybody can't achieve the same goals, which is Western thinking. Everybody has a clean slate when they're born, not bringing anything into life. Therefore, they can all achieve the same, all make the same achievements in this life. Not true. We start with carrying forward everything from our past lives in some form, which limits or helps us in this life. Shiva's devotees approach each enterprise with deliberate thoughtfulness and act only after careful consideration. They succeed in every undertaking by having a clear purpose, a wise plan, persistence, and push. So this is adding the idea that the purpose should be clear, the plan should be wise. Comparing the actions of one who is steadfast to one who tends to give up. Couldn't put tends to give up in one word, so we put it tendency to give up. For situation, having received treatment and advice for back pain, you. Steadfastness, follow the doctor's advice day after day, even though it is painful. Tendency to give up. Start strong, but on the third day, abandon the regimen. Second situation, having failed the driver's license test twice, you. Steadfastness, arrange for a personal mentor and later pass the test without error. Tendency to give up. Figure you gave it your best shot and buy a bike. Third situation, two historic storms hit your town just months apart, demolishing your home and you. Steadfastness. Remind yourself why you chose this neighborhood and rebuild a second time. Tendency to give up. Change your mind about this neighborhood and move to a town with fewer opportunities. And reflection. Take a moment to identify a few ways in which you could improve in steadfastness. And the assignment during these next 2 weeks, watch to see if you start something and then abandon it when you hit an obstacle. When that happens, find a way to overcome the obstacle and continue on. Okay, I have a slide here. So this is about coming weekend, satsang. Oh, there it is. So next week we have a different type of Zoom satsang. It's a live streaming of the installation of the Crystal Lingam in Iraivan Temple. Well, that's the actual situation as of today. The Avudayar, the base, has been there quite a while. And sometime in the last couple of weeks, we moved the crystal and placed it inside. It's just placed there. It's not installed. When you install it, you have to put in the Ashtabandhana that holds it tightly in place and creates waterproof seals. That's not there. And then we have the arch in back of it. So we can get a sense of how it's going to look, and the white crystal contrasts nicely with the highly polished red granite on the back wall there. So we're basically heading toward the installation of the Crystal Lingam in Iraivan Temple, and we're going to provide The link soon via post to talk as well as other communications for live streaming, which will occur on March 21 through 26 Hawaii days, with the main time slot the morning of the 26th. And then on the 27th, daily pujas will start in Iraivan Temple. And the good news is those members and devotees coming on pilgrimage will be able to attend a daily puja at Iraivan. So we're hoping many members and devotees will be able to come during the balance of the year and have a personal experience of the daily puja in Iraivan. And as we mentioned in our announcements, there's still a major Kumbhabhishekam a few years away. And before that's done, we need to open up the entrance at the Rudraksha forest fully, get it fully functional. Right now, it's just a dirt parking lot. We need to upgrade the parking lot, install some bathrooms, and upgrade the path from the parking lot all the way out to the temple, because it's to get to the temple from the Rudraksha forest, it's 6/10 of a mile walk, and parts of it still can get quite muddy. So devotees and members won't be expecting mud, so we have to grade the path to get it pretty much mud-free year-round, and then everyone can enter that side and get out to the temple and get back. That's our goal, and when that's happening, then we can schedule the formal Kumbhabhishekam and give everyone announcements, but we still can't have a huge number of people. For example, Paul in the Hills Temple had Kumbhabhishekam recently, and they allowed 4,000 people to come, and probably a couple 100,000 wanted to come who couldn't. But it can only accommodate 4,000, so we probably can't even accommodate 400, more like 100 or 50. So we'll figure that out and let everyone know way in advance and provide reservations so that anyone who comes is guaranteed a experience on the day they're supposed to have it. Don't run into too many people. Oh, thank you very much.